As a child, I had big dreams of becoming a strong and respected leader. I wanted to be someone that others could trust and rely on in any situation. When I landed a job at ISS Facility Service, I thought my dreams were coming true. I excelled as a team leader, guiding and mentoring others to reach their full potential as professional cleaners. But deep down, I was filled with anxiety and fear. Despite outward appearances, I didn't feel like I truly belonged or deserved all that I had achieved. The thought of being exposed as a fraud haunted me every day, overshadowing any sense of fulfillment or accomplishment. My heart raced as I walked into the meeting room, my feet feeling heavy with both anticipation and dread. The walls were decorated with plaques and certificates, a reminder of past employees of the month who had achieved greatness in their roles at the company. Now it was my turn to be honored, but I couldn't shake off the overwhelming fear of being exposed as a fraud. Despite my doubts, I couldn't help feeling a sense of pride wash over me for finally achieving recognition. But deep down, I knew I didn't deserve it. My inner turmoil became too much to bear, and in a moment of panic, I excused myself from the room under the guise of needing to get back to work. It was a conflicting mix of emotions that left me feeling both triumphant and terrified at the same time. As I made my way back to my desk, my mind drifted to the root of my fear and drive, the painful void left by my absent father. Growing up without his love and support had fueled my determination to become everything he was not. Yet, despite my achievements, he never once showed me any affection or expressed pride in my accomplishments. This lack of validation left me with no foundation to stand upon when trying to become someone worthy. As I continued to climb the ladder of success, the constant feeling of being unworthy and fraudulent plagued me every day. The fear of being exposed as an imposter haunted me, driving me to constantly prove myself while also questioning if I even deserved recognition without a male authority figure in my life to tell me otherwise. In the year 2001, I made the fateful decision to fully embrace Christianity. Little did I know, this would only add to the confusion and struggles I faced. Before my conversion, I at least had a sense of identity as a man according to society's standards. But now, I was bombarded with messages to forget about myself and focus solely on Jesus, warned against any pride in my masculinity because it was seen as sinful. As a Christian man in today's world, I felt completely lost and uncertain, torn between trying to live up to societal expectations and following the teachings of my newfound faith. It seemed like Christianity only cared about preparing for eternal life, while I needed guidance for my present life here on earth. And worst of all, it seemed like anything associated with traditional masculinity was deemed dangerous and something to be shunned, leaving me questioning my very nature and purpose as a man in God's eyes. The year was 2003, a time when I was consumed by my own guilt and driven to be my parents' personal chauffeur. We embarked on an exhausting journey through the desolate landscape of northern Norway, a place that seemed to mirror the empty void I felt within myself. Despite having devoted myself to Christianity for 2 years, I still struggled with feelings of hollowness and confusion. As a man of faith, I constantly battled against my natural inclinations, which were deemed sinful and labeled as the old Adam and the flesh. Each day weighed heavily on me as I grappled with shame and fear, unsure of how to reconcile my beliefs with my identity as a man. In the barren wilderness of northern Norway, Christian bookstores were a rare commodity. And with no Kindle, e-books, or Amazon to rely on, physical books were the only source of spiritual nourishment. As we made our way back to Alta, a sudden and overwhelming need washed over me like a tidal wave. I had to have a book on biblical manhood. The name of the author escaped me, but it didn't matter. It was written by a Norwegian pastor, and I was a desperate man dying of thirst in the desert, stumbling upon an oasis. In that moment, I couldn't explain the intensity of my desire, but looking back now, I know exactly where it came from. As our car pulled into Alta, a sudden compulsion took hold of me. My mind was consumed with the thought of a Christian bookstore, nestled in a small shop on the downtown streets. I couldn't explain where this knowledge came from. All I knew was that if I drove there, the shop would be waiting for me. My heart thumped in anticipation as I parked and raced up the stairs. Throwing open the door, my eyes were immediately drawn to a display featuring a book titled Wild at Heart by John Eldredge. I had never heard of this author before, but at that moment, all other thoughts vanished from my mind. The book seemed to radiate electricity, drawing me in like a magnet. Without hesitation, I snatched it from the display, knowing that this book was meant for me and me alone. The book consumed me, devouring my thoughts and soul in a relentless cycle. John Eldredge's words became a lifeline to me, a substitute father who guided me through the murky waters of manhood and Christianity. But even as I clung to his teachings, my heart ached for a different voice, that of my own father. The longing to hear him say, "I love you, I am proud of you, I believe in you," burned like an unquenchable fire within me. And though John Eldredge spoke truths that resonated with me, he could never fill the void left by my absent father. There was no other male figure in my life that I trusted enough to utter those words, leaving me stranded in a sea of unfulfilled yearning. Every time I walked through the doors of success, I was still haunted by the fear that someone would discover my deepest secret, that I was an imposter. The constant paranoia ate away at me, a reminder of the insecurity plaguing me since childhood. My father's absence left a void in my soul, a deep-seated doubt that I could ever truly make it on my own. And as I climbed higher and higher, each accomplishment only reinforced the feeling of being a fraud, because without my father's words of affirmation, I couldn't believe in myself. The cover of John Eldredge's book gleamed like a beacon in the dim light, its pages beckoning with the promise of truth and wisdom. As I delved into its depths, each turn of the page brought a surge of faith to my heart, like a cool breeze on a hot summer day. My convictions as a Christian man deepened, and my purpose became clearer with every word read. This book showed me what it truly means to live with unshakable conviction and purpose, filling me with reassurance and confidence in my masculinity. Yet, amidst all this newfound knowledge, there remained a longing within me for one thing that no one could give except for my father: his words of affirmation and love. But he was not interested in giving me those words, leaving a void in my heart. "I believe in you. I am proud of you." Those were the words that would complete me, filling the void and connecting everything I had learned from John to real-life application. The absence of those words hung heavy in the air, like a cloud blocking out the sun on a bright day. How was I supposed to fill that void? As a devout Christian, I was constantly told to focus on Jesus and his love as the solution to all my struggles. But deep down, I couldn't fully believe in this simplistic approach. My analytical mind yearned for a deeper understanding of the Father's love, not just that of Jesus's. Yet, as I dove into the Bible, I couldn't ignore the stark contrasts between the Christian depiction of God and what was actually written in the Scriptures. The idea of a fickle, ever-changing father only reminded me of my own flawed earthly father. On the other hand, the biblical God was constant and unwavering, someone I could truly trust. However, according to Christianity, this loving God wasn't available to me because I, as Christian, lived under the dispensation of grace. It felt like I was stuck at square one, torn between conflicting beliefs and desperately searching for a sense of belonging and fatherly love. As I struggled with this, an unlikely solution presented itself to me. I made the bold decision to pursue a BA in theology at Ansgar University College in Kristiansand. It was there that my intellectual struggles were finally put to rest, as I delved into church history and discovered the true development of the Bible. My mind clicked into place as I realized that for centuries, the early Christians had only relied on the Old Testament. A surge of clarity washed over me as I understood that original Christianity was truly based on the teachings of the Old Testament, not the New Testament as I had previously believed. As the revelation washed over me, a door that had been sealed shut for what felt like an eternity was suddenly ripped open, revealing the Father I had always craved. His presence enveloped me like a warm embrace, and I could feel my soul stirring with long-forgotten emotions. This was the Father who celebrated masculinity and encouraged men to be true to themselves. The same Father who loved his chosen people, Israel, with a fierce and unquenchable passion, never wavering in his devotion. It was as if I had finally found the missing piece of my identity. Mainstream Christianity had deemed him inaccessible in this age of grace. But now, through my education at Ansgar, I saw clearly that his name was Jehovah and he had been waiting for me all along. All I needed to do was come back to the Torah. And then finally, I heard the words I had longed for. "I am proud of you. I believe in you. I love you, my son," spoken directly from the lips of Israel's God Jehovah. The weight of his love and acceptance filled me with overwhelming joy and gratitude. But of course, I soon learned the mainstream Christian world recoiled at the mere mention of Jehovah and the Torah, their objections ringing loud and clear. Jehovah is the God of the Old Testament, a merciless deity of rigid laws who demanded perfection from his people Israel. But we are Christians, followers of the Son in the Holy Trinity, who has freed us from the chains of the Torah and granted us grace. However, my time at Ansgar Academy shattered this belief, revealing it to be a fragile facade with no basis in either the Bible or church history. In fact, before Marcion of Sinope's heretical teachings, Jehovah was worshipped by Christians as their primary God, one who expected his worshippers to express their love for him by living by the Torah. So there I was at Ansgar, having come almost full circle in my search for biblical manhood. The books of John Eldregger had pointed me in the right direction, and my formal education at Ansgar had introduced me to a father who filled the void in my heart and said, "I love you, I am proud of you, I believe in you because you are a man."